So, Shin, I want to start by getting a little bit into what led you into creating such a unique and really advanced device, such as the quantum resonance crystal bed. Because there's got to be a story in there somewhere that you found things that took you into a very interesting rabbit hole of many rabbit holes, I have to say, because there's so many different things going on here. But I want to allow you to kind of tell your story of how did you get to even coming up with the idea for such advice.
Well, thanks so much. It really is such an incredible journey for me. It's been I've been making these devices for 7 years now. Before that, I was getting into some of the different types of sound modalities, like the Far East stuff with the Tibetan bowls and the crystal singing bowls, and really discovering how interesting it was to do things with even tuning forks, and how the resonance would really shift my center of being, how I might be irritable or something, and I'd use the tuning forks. And after that, I'm like, wow, this is really amazing. So, I had some of this work going on for years prior. Also, getting into working with crystals and the sacred geometry that's formed inside of crystalline structures, playing around with magnetic coils in relationship to the crystals, even working with lasers, putting them into crystals and seeing if I could detect anything without any kind of scientific equipment. Just putting it up to your hand or something like that. Yeah, okay, yeah, I'm feeling something. I don't know what this is. Um, and in doing my daily meditations, I'd ask a question or something like, I really want to learn more about this. I really want to discover more. And through the quieting of my mind, these breadcrumbs of information would lead me. I'd go to the library and I'd stumble upon a book that would help me with laser or sound or whatever it may be. Um, Getting into binaural beats was so fascinating as well, which is this um, science of using sounds in the left and right hemisphere of the brain and just minutely changing them enough that the left and right hemisphere have to continually cross-check each other until the point where it just gets worn out and it's like, oh my god, I'm so tired from doing this. um, and so all this background led me to uh, helping myself start to create one of these. Now, really, when it took off was when um, I went on to this crystal healing bed called a Jhana God bed, and I think this is 7 or 8 years ago in Hawaii, and there was all this magical hype and everything about it. And my friends were like, "Oh my God, this is amazing! You have to go and try it." And I'm like, "Okay, cool." And I'm laying on it, and there's these crystals that are suspended above your body at specific points, your heart, your throat, your forehead, things like that, and they're sending light through the crystal into your body. Now, because it's not a magnifying lens, it's not super precise. It's going to do a little bit of that, but my mind starts going in circles and circles and circles, and I'm like, this is great. I'm not feeling what they're feeling, and I want to up level it. I can feel something here, but I really want to up level it. I want to bring in sound. I want to add lasers, because why not? Lasers are so cool. Um, and all these different things. So once I put that into the field of, yes, I want to start creating these, it wasn't 3 or 4 months later that I had my first uh, rough system made. And I started creating all the music files for it, and the waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning because I had this impulse to keep going or look something up, So it was eventually this long process that brought me to what we have now, and one of the systems that you guys are using. And it really is a culmination of sound, of light, of magnetism. And I feel like sound, light, magnetism are such fundamental parts of how our body interprets vibration. Our eyeballs are interpreters of vibration, of frequency. When we come in to these bodies, when we're brand new babies, we see upside down. Our brains need to interpret and learn how to see things correctly. No wonder these guys are screaming when they come in. Um, so, our auditory, we are interpreters of sound. And we have a certain amount of frequency from 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz that we hear. And so our bodies are receiving this through our ears, interpreting this as a frequency, a vibration. And we're saying, okay, yes to this or no to this. I like this, I don't like this. It's interesting to note that, our ears hear a certain portion. Now, whales hear another 60% more. So they're out singing happily, and we're like, I have no idea what you're hearing. I don't hear anything. Or, the kids in school will have a very, very high-pitched ringtone that the adults can't hear, which is just so fun.
Yeah, that always gets people. You could play that prank, right? I'm holding it up, it's going, you must be old, and nothing's going on, and
Hmm.
everyone thinks they're old.
Yeah, I used to pride myself in having such acute hearing, and now I'm like, well, I hear what I hear.
We all age.
Yeah, it's beautiful though. Um, and magnetism, it's such a fascinating um, part of science. It's something that we don't truly understand. We understand some fundamental basics of it, the positive and the negative, the repulsion, the attraction, but we can't see magnetism. We can see the effects of magnetism. We can see when we put a magnet up to something, it'll snap in place. We can see that. We can see when we put um, iron flux on a piece of paper and put a magnet under it, how it'll make a pretty north and south pole image. We can see things like that, but we don't see magnetism. And so, it's been such a fun discovery working with magnetism and learning about like the Schumann resonance of the Earth, and learning about how the brain is a, uh, it won't necessarily be affected by stronger magnetic fields, but weaker magnetic fields it's more responsive to, where it has built-in filters or whatever it may be that can help it withstand, or even the body for that matter, really strong magnetic fields. But we have a much stronger uh, influence when we just give it a very light nudge. And it feels that way with so many of the modalities that I've tried to bring into the crystal light bed, because it is not about overpowering the cells in the body, but it's about getting them all in line, about giving a little bit of vibration through transducers in the massage table that are going to vibrate all the cells into cohesion of those frequencies that we're giving it. It's about um, sending. By the way, this is one of the crystals that we use in the systems, and these crystals are sitting in holders that have the magnetic field. They also are using light, and we've also introduced a full spectrum light now, which is part infrared and part ultraviolet. And we've found that the infrared and the ultraviolet create faster states of change within the cells. The ultraviolet allows the cells to shift very quickly, but the infrared soothes the cells back down. So it's a very good synergistic effect. So these crystals are culminating this energy from the magnetism, from the light, and everything's being bounced around inside here because these are all faceted. Each one of these sides, 24 sides, is a facet. It's like a funhouse mirror where the information is bouncing back and forth. And it's eventually culminating at the tip and coming down into your own biomagnetic field.
Yeah. I mean, it looks amazing to see it, but so much is actually in the unseen. You're working in the invisible, and that's where I say that's where healing really starts. It's not in the
Right.
visible things, it's in the frequencies,
Mm-hmm.
vibrations, the sounds, magnetism. As you, biomagnetism is such an interesting, understanding of how we, as even every single cell has a depolarization, process that
Yes,
requires
yes.
that magnetism in a sense. But for someone who doesn't know what we're talking about, which is a lot of people,
Mm-hmm,
I
mm-hmm.
want you to give a little bit of a visual and also take through what a session would be like with the quantum resonance crystal bed.
Beautiful. Essentially, when we were at a fair once selling the systems, somebody was like, "What does this do?" And after 20 minutes of going scientific on the guy, he's like, "What does it do?" It makes you feel good. Bottom
That's it.
line,
Yeah.
it's going to make you feel good. What it's really doing is relaxing the cells. It's creating homeostasis, so balance inside and outside of the cells. It's reducing the inflammation. When we reduce inflammation, the healing can occur. Um, when we start addressing these different um, ideas, the reduction of inflammation, the homeostasis, the calming of the body, we can then use the vibrations to get all the cells in alignment. So they start opening and closing, resonating at the same frequencies, much the way a flower opens and closes throughout the day. When we get the cells into the open yes position, it then allows these other energies to come in and allow the cells to say, yes, I want to change. Okay, let's change. Um, a typical session would be one where we bring the clients through the very thing that we just talked about. We then say, the most important aspect of this is your own willingness to want to heal. There's nothing wrong with you to begin with. You're perfect. You're in perfect health. However, you're coming to us because you feel that there's a problem. So let's verbalize together. I give my cells permission to heal. Cells in my body, I love you, heal. This is an order. It's not like a type of thing, but rather I feel like the body is a closed loop system, meaning it receives information, but there's no way for it to send information out. So the only way that it can let us know that something's wrong is through pain or malaise or whatever it may be. When we are able to verbalize, our mouth is creating sound. Sound is being picked up by the ears. It's being transferred into the body, and the body's like, oh, okay, you're telling me something. So when we can do that, when we really know deep inside that healing's possible, it's just a shift of vibration away. It's moving away from the thoughts of poor me, I'm sick, I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, I can't do this, I'm so tired of being tired, whatever it may be, into one of I feel joy, I can visualize myself being well and healed, and everything is so beautiful. Going into the session with that knowledge, we then bring the client into the room that the crystal bed is on, get them on the massage table, get a blanket on them, the headphones, the pillow, all the little niceties that you do. We then have the bar that lowers about a foot away from the body, and it's down the center line. Choose now when I choose lights and I choose sounds, I tune in and I just get quiet for a second, and I'm like, what would this client need? And so then I choose the different light patterns. I choose the sound patterns as well, and I choose the frequencies for the PEMF, which is that coil that goes around the crystals. Now, typically, I don't change too much of that. I don't like to change um, the frequencies that the coil gets that much. It's either going to be 111 or 528. 528 is one of the solfeggio tones. It's said to work with the heart chakra area and produce very easy, gentle frequencies. I do not go into things around eradicating candida or anything like that. There's too many pitfalls in trying to find something like that. Instead, it's about consolidating the frequencies that we're working with through the vibration, through the light, and through the PEMF together, so they all boost and build upon one another in a nice, gentle way. The sessions typically last 30 to 45 minutes, and the binaural beats that we've created for the system are really complex patterns. Most
You custom created those, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Um, Most people, when they do the binaural beats, are only doing the left and right, and then the center frequency. So the center frequency is the one that you feel in the bed, the throbbing wow wow, and then the headphones are typically the ones that you hear a little bit of that, but also the change in the pattern. We layer those with some other binaural beats. So sometimes you're getting 3 separate binaural beats, so a total of 12 different frequencies, 9 different frequencies working together, and then those build upon themselves. So we took a lot of time to figure out what the harmonics are of the different frequencies and to vary them. At one point in time, I played around with going, gee, wouldn't it be great just to have um, a REM sound for 45 minutes? It was horrible. My brain was like, you need to change things up. I can't stay in REM for 45 minutes. So it was such a valuable lesson, and we do shift the frequencies in a gentle way. But what we found is that the brain can handle a multitude of frequencies at once. If you've ever been to a classical concert, you'll have 30 to 100 different pieces in the orchestra. And when you close your eyes, you can pick out each one.
Mm-hmm. If you're
But
skilled, yeah.
yeah, but you can also have a beautiful, just symphony of all of them coming together, and you don't need to pick them out.
Right.
But it has the ability, the brain has the ability to listen to many, many, many different frequencies at once.
And that's what I see this as. This is an orchestra of energy, of vibrations that is harmonious to your body. It is listening to this, and this is a beautiful symphony. It's playing for the body to get it back into a state of regeneration, also just distribution of energy again. And that's one of the things people sometimes have a hard time understanding is energy flow and chakras. The idea, even when you see the 7 points that you come down in that bar you mentioned with the crystal pieces, all shining light, looks beautiful again. But patients often say, what is this for, right? What is it doing, as you said? And of course, they may understand sound therapy, they may understand the vibration and feeling nice around that. but the seven chakras are incredibly important for health. So can you go into that a little bit and what chakras are and what's going on there and why they're so important?
Absolutely, yeah. The chakras in Far Eastern medicine, chakras are the large energy centers in the body, where we have one at the top of the head, we have a third eye, we have a throat, we have a heart, solar plexus, on down to the root chakra. Now, each one of these has a color or a frequency associated with it, and each one of these frequencies will help strengthen the chakra that's in question. Now, way I feel about this is that, let's take the throat chakra for instance. It may have a specific frequency. I don't have that off the top of my head, but it can, if my hands right here is the center of the frequency, the throat can handle stuff way over here and way over here. The farther we get away from the center point, the more distorted, the more um, ill we feel with our throat. We may get a sore throat, things along that nature. The chakras are energy centers that focus the voltage that's going through the body, and they allow us to um, really cognitize how the body works much easier. We have smaller areas at specific points in the body that relay with things like acupuncture.
Hmm.
But for our intense purposes, we're just focusing on the seven chakras, and we are giving them the same frequencies, trying to give them all a flat line to start with. So the lights may have specific chakra colors that are associated with it, but the vibrations and the other frequencies, we are more interested in building a nice steady platform on which the color can then rebuild that specific chakra point.
Right.
And when I say rebuild, it's more about allowing the body to come back into its natural state of balance.
Mm. And that's the goal of any treatment, I say. It's not about forcing the body into something. It's not about trying to compensate for the body. It's about allowing it to get back into harmony itself and go back into a self-healing state. Because that's what the body does so well when provided the right energy flow, the right environment. It is
Yeah,
always healing us. And once you have that misalignment, even on an energetic standpoint, which we have known for over 100 years now that energy is everything. I still find it very strange that Einstein's work is not brought up in medical school as much.
right,
It's still
right.
very Newtonian, which is 300 years ago.
Exactly.
And for the last 100 years, we know energy equals MC squared. Energy is everything. It governs all of life. And if you can't look at that in healing, you're missing such a big part of the puzzle. And so
Right.
even aligning the chakras will absolutely impact organs and glands and all sorts of things
Yes.
because it all starts there. So it's really interesting when you go into the energy and the amount of different frequencies that you're using within the quantum resonance crystal bed, how that can make those subtle shifts that bring about self-healing. You don't need medicines, you don't need these other things as much. And it is subtle, of course, as you mentioned. So you can't expect for things to happen abruptly with this type of
It
therapy.
it can
It
happen,
can.
however. Yeah.
You've
You
seen
know,
that too.
we have over 100 systems in the world, and we've had lots of owners contact us with clients that have had miraculous shifts take place. Somebody with chronic pain, one session, and the next day they're like, I don't have to take my CBD oil right now. I feel amazing. Um, or um, uh, a woman with um, crystallization going on inside her inner ear, and the crystallization broke down, and after 20 years of this process, she could finally hear clearly without tinnitus going on in the ear. We've had other people where it's taken longer, a month, maybe 2 months before the changes are seen. And I feel like that attribute is more along the lines of cell reproduction, where some of the cells take longer to reproduce. So if we can give the cells during that phase of reproduction a consistent vibration, a consistent frequency to work with, when they reproduce, they'll then reproduce with that new frequency and not the old one, um, thereby allowing greater health. Um, so it's a yes and no question or answer there.
Which is the answer to most questions in the world,
Right. Hmm.
depending on who you are. But, speaking of what this treats or what this helps, because I don't want to say treat. Treat is one of those tricky words. What this helps in improving, let's say, within the human body. Are there certain conditions or people or patients that are more prone to healing or to feeling the effects of the crystal bed? Or is this we could use this on everyone and they should see improvement type of case?
Really, the biggest limitation is the person's willingness to set aside their beliefs for 45 minutes or an hour or however long the session is. Set aside your beliefs and say, what if and maybe? I'm going to have fun with this. Yes, I can heal. We then see the biggest improvements. Uh, I would say people that are coming in looking for something to heal them rather than empowering themselves to heal themselves, because really we have the ability to heal ourselves from any kind of illness, any kind of disease. um, the biggest limitation is us. When we take the power out of our hands, when we take our own abilities, ourselves own ability to do the healing, we then really are doing a disservice to ourselves and the people that we're going to see. We're expecting, maybe it's a Reiki practitioner or a doctor or really anybody. If we are taking our own empowerment away and giving it to them and saying, you have to do this for me, I need a pill, I need this, I need this, it's not going to be as effective.
Well, let's talk about that for a second because most of medicine, as we know, takes on that approach. The doctor, no, we'll give you a pill for that. Don't worry about it. No responsibility, no need for intention in this or willingness, even. You may be miserable right now. That's fine. We have a pill for that too. So there's a pill for everything. And there is this approach, I feel like, that many people, after they've gone through that route and haven't seen improvement, end up at a center like ours or one of the many that may have this device. And they've already gone into a system of belief, I would say, that is very hard for them to have an intention that is a positive, high consciousness. So would you suggest that they work on that before using, and how so, the quantum crystal bed? Because if you have someone that has a very poor, let's say, scale of consciousness,
Hmm.
they're in
Right.
grief, fear, whatever it is, just negativity, don't feel or basically feel like they're forced into this type of woo woo treatment, they would say,
Yeah.
and are skeptical. They're not the ideal candidates for this, correct?
Correct.
What would you say they can do to become more ideal candidates?
you know um, the work, the law of attraction, the work from Abraham Hicks, um, Esther Hicks and Abraham, is so amazing in shifting people's consciousness, of shifting people's state of mind from that state of poor me, I'm not good enough, I'm not this enough, I don't have enough of this, I don't have enough money, I don't have enough health,
Yeah, victimization mentality, right?
over to the possibility of what if and maybe. Let's dream, let's know, let's believe that it's possible. because what I'm experiencing in this now moment is nothing more than habituated past thoughts and beliefs that have shown up into that moment, which is now then, because of the 10 seconds later type of thing. So if we can get out ahead of what we are experiencing and try to forecast the next hour, the next day, the next whatever it may be. I love my body. I love how I feel. I know that right in this moment, I may not be feeling great, but I am in full trust that the universe is providing for me, that I have the ability to feel great and I am willing to feel great. I love feeling great. Working myself up to better feeling thoughts, staying consistent with it. Myself, I do meditation every day. I feel that's so important. It doesn't mean to sit like a yogi for an hour in pain and suffering, um, but rather, meditation for me is about being in a comfortable place, maybe listening to a background noise. Maybe it's a fan or something like that for a consistent amount of time. Maybe it's 10 minutes, maybe it's 20 minutes. It's enough to shut my mind off, to stop the monkey mind, to get into a point in space where it feels like I'm floating. And then I can then start shifting my thoughts to a better feeling place. I can't immediately go from I'm sick as a dog to I feel great. I have to work myself up to it. It's almost like going out for a run and starting at a full sprint. I'll be dead on my feet 100 feet later, whereas I can start slowly and work up to a nice pace. Uh, that's probably the best way that I've discovered to up level my thinking, because my belief system is nothing more than an habituated thought process of thinking something over and over again until it becomes a belief. And it's I created that belief. I can uncreate that belief. And when I allow myself to experience joy and fun and love, I just feel better overall. Um, Things work out for me.
It's
Uh,
interesting that you bring these pieces up because I feel that there have been so many patients I've spoken to that are skeptical. I kind of understand. They've been to all the specialists out there and they still haven't, they've been passed around and they're getting worse and they can't live their lives happily and normally as other people with their health do. And you become very disjointed, very against everything, fearful, and
Jaded, yeah.
yeah, completely jaded at the system, at life in general. So you're just the next person on their list that they're just going through, and they are going to come with a lot of skepticism. And what I've always said to those people is, don't come in yet for treatment. Don't come in until you read a number of books and until you feel better and more aware of what we're doing here, what we're trying to do. Don't just come here because someone told you about it and said they got better, because you want to be empowered, informed, and in the right mindset. There's a perfect mindset, I think, for healing. It has to be one of positivity, openness, and I wouldn't say full faith because I don't think you ever get to 100%, but I would say about 80% there. And that's what I heard from patients. I didn't know for sure it was going to work. There are no guarantees in this world. And I was a little bit still skeptical, but I would say I got 80% there. And they got much better. And then when you ask them to go on the crystal bed and do something like have a positive intention, it was truthful. It was there for them and they could do that and they were good candidates. So sometimes a year will go by and I don't hear from a patient that I answered so many questions about what do you do? How do you do it? What's the cost? What should I expect? And they read a lot of the books that, we even brought up earlier and all of these different types of self-help, you could even say, books, but really just more on the basis of the science of everything, talking about resonance, vibration, how this all works. And they came back and you could tell they were a different person and they were ready for it and they got better. And I would say that if they hadn't read all that, done the work, meditated, maybe did some other stuff, cleared out some issues, it would be much, much more difficult for them. to get into a healing state. And even things like the crystal bed probably wouldn't be as positive as it could have been, because, like you said, intention is so powerful and it's such a part of the treatment. You can't leave that
Yes.
out.
Yeah.
Where did you come up with that, though, that it had to be part of it? Because I mean, you're the creator of this, right? And so you could have said, well, you know, I have all the other, you have the scalar, orgone, crystals, magnetism, sound, UV, like all of these different things going on. But you said, no, intention is actually part of this. When did that come to you?
That came to me. It really um, it, it it really consolidated years later. I was more into the oh gee, this is amazing. I just created this. Oh yeah, it's great. I was already halfway there. I really didn't need convincing. But after doing my own reading, after doing more meditations, after what's next, after finding that some people were having better responses than other people, um, my deep yearning for understanding led me to some truly great writings, mysticism and things like that, where it's all coming back to the self. It's all coming back to the love of self, the ability, the self-worthiness, the belief system. It is so valuable to know that we are created perfect and that we have a deep desire to go back to that perfection all the time. We're here on this planet to experience everything. And we're also here to have fun. We're also here to really do that self-discovery. And it's through all this where I've really felt that it was so vital to really inject that into all of the manuals now, where we even have a short video on the intentions before you get onto one of the systems. We also feel that the way the um, drawing parallels to quantum physics, where specific materials can quantumly lock onto other materials, and it doesn't matter where they are in time or space. When one particle moves, the other particle will move exactly like it. So with that concept in place, I feel like there is a sort of partial quantum locking that takes place when you're on one of these systems, where your consciousness has been working with the crystals, which are part of the planet. And in that time and space, at that moment, you had an experience with the crystal bed. And because you had that, it's always there for you to draw upon when you need it. And during meditation or something, yeah, I really enjoyed the way I felt during that. I really want to re-experience that. And it's our belief that you can revisit part of that energy and bring it back into your field, much the way we can revisit the way how good we felt when we were a young child. And that feels so valuable.
Yeah.
There's it's really the sky's the limit.
And it's such a natural experience in many ways, because everything you're doing here with this crystal is in nature. It's not like we're forcing something synthetic onto the body. These are all natural, harmonious waves and frequencies that kind of bathe the body in some ways and help it. But these are things that once you experience it, you can experience it again, being in nature, being in certain elements, being in the right environments. And I think that feeling that in a state of a therapy gets a patient to want to relive that and gets them back towards nature a little bit more, rather than this stressful rat race and living in a
Yeah,
box the whole time and just always linked with technology, which is not natural. That's not what we were meant to be so connected to. Do you agree
yeah,
with that?
absolutely. During the process of creating this, there were certain elements that came through very strongly in the meditations. Like, do not overpower the person's own bioelectrical field. We got to keep things really mellow and easy. It's about um, basically it's about bringing the body into that nice youthful state of 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 joy, of excitement, of fun, of I'm glad to be alive and everything works so beautifully for me.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's the state we all need to be in, whether
Right.
healing or just live
Hmm.
or whatever it is. That's a wonderful state to be in.
I love how we can also draw upon these miraculous moments with certain people where they've had instantaneous healings, whether it's been in hospitals or whether we can draw upon Jesus doing these miraculous things. It's about getting rid of the resistance, of turning off the mind, and then allowing the pure potential of our body working well to come in and make that shift. And that's why we love using the binaural beats so much, because it really does shut the mind off. And for me, my mind is my biggest culprit in
For
in
most people.
all of this.
Yeah.
It's the part that's going to say I am healthy or I am sick,
Hmm.
and it doesn't matter whether I am or not. It's the mind reinforcing whatever the belief system is at that time.
Do you feel most diseases start in the mind?
Yeah, absolutely. Um,
It's a
and
hard one for people to grasp, right? Because you talk so much of the, again, what is visible, what we know, toxicity. We know that there are, viruses out there, bacteria, all these things that are attacking us, and that these are the root causes of disease, they say. And I've always been taught by other doctors that know a little bit more outside of, let's say, conventional medicine, is that it's energy, mind, thoughts. These are the real causes. These are the initiation points that are so subtle. It may take 10 years before you even see something that's pathological and symptomatic.
yes, and I also feel I wanted to give some um, credence to the body itself, because there are certain elements like the voltage in the cells. If the voltage gets low in the cells, it will open itself up to a greater amount of negativity or lower vibration that is in and around the field. Um, Things like using, and it doesn't have to be our stinking thinking. It can be things like holding cell phones too close to the head, or hair dryers with the motor that's spinning will cause an electromagnetic frequency that will throw off our own body's natural resonance, things like this. So if our cells voltage is not appropriate, if we don't have enough iodine, if we don't have enough cell salts and things like that, then it will naturally open itself up to a wider range of things. Because what I've learned is that if the voltage is high, if the oxygen is good in the body, disease can't exist in it. There's just no space for it. If the vibration of the thought is high, there's nowhere for it to go. So it can't even get a foothold. But, exercise is great. Eating well is great. All the different things that we can do to help instead of reaching for the pills or whatever it may be outside of us. We need to do a little bit of work on our own to
But
get
it's
us.
worth it, isn't it? For
Absolutely.
me, it's you can't put in no work and get something great out of it and actually appreciate it. It's the
Yeah.
journey, it's the hard work. I love mountain climbing. And it's not so much that I'm just conquering a peak and standing up top going, "Yay, I did it." It's the struggle to get there. It's that I failed so many times of getting there and have gone through pain, and it's the cold, and you hit a storm and have to turn around, and all these things, but that's really where the enjoyment is almost.
Hmm.
And I always said it's an interesting little thing, but so many people, they're, what would be your superpower? All say teleportation. I thought, no, God, no, I don't want that. It takes away from all the kind of getting to your destination. The further the destination, the more of a journey it is, the harder it is, the more you appreciate it. And health is very similar. It's not as easy as a pill and then just, a 7-minute hack to, exercise thing that'll make you feel great for the rest of your life. It is the choices you make every single day, over and over, every minute of every day, that end up being, are you healthy or not? That's really it. And it's not going to always be easy because you have temptation to take a pill, to eat poorly, and take another pill after you eat poorly, and keep doing that until you're out of pills one day and you're very sick.
And I feel like what just came to mind is the very cyclic behavior of how we are with everything. We'll get up on that high feeling thoughts of greatness, and everything's going well. We eat well, we feel great, and then something comes and knocks us on our butt. I feel that um, I, for one, am getting better and better at not being such a knee-jerk reactionist to when things come along that will set me off and have me tumbling down the hill that I just went up. But rather, oh, okay, that happened. I don't need to reach for a bag of Doritos to feel good. Because really, when I am doing something that doesn't feel good, later on, maybe it's that short term hit of feeling good. It's about, I just want relief. I just want to feel good. I am so sick, blah, 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 blah. So I already got to a point where I could have stopped that way back. And it's the consistency and being gentle on myself and saying it's okay.
Oh, it's more than okay, and it's also, you have to realize you're playing, you're running a marathon. As you said, if you just start sprinting right away, you're just going to wear yourself out anyway and end up in a worse spot. And we all know the story of the tortoise and the hare and who wins
Yeah,
that race. But so many of us, especially in this day and age, we are playing the short game. It's the piece of information we just, get that minute and overreact to, and ruins our day. And that's over and over and over every day. And those knee-jerk reactions are basically what I think society is doing as a whole. It's just a huge knee-jerk reaction, right? It's the guy that cut you off and suddenly you're exploding with anger, with rage, all these things, and cortisol levels are off, and the rest of your day is off, and digestion goes badly. Everything cascades from there,
everything cascades.
right?
It
What
really
what
is such a
what
mental.
what can we do? I mean, to change that a little bit, do you think that starts at the core of even being aware of it? Is that where we could start in this healing of even our everyday reactions that lead us to a more diseased and, I would say, unhappy existence?
Yeah, it's for myself, I would say my greatest desire is to feel good throughout the day, is to feel joy, to have fun, to know what is the big rush, what's the big hurry. Whatever I'm doing can wait, even if it means missing a plane. There's always going to be a plane tomorrow. It doesn't matter. It's imposing other people's limitations, other people's fears into my existence, and making them a my belief, making them my problem. Like, stop watching news, stop watching TV. Um, if you are, make darn Skippy sure that you're in a good place, because that'll bring you down faster than anything. When you get in the car, before you get in the car, I'm going to have a great trip. I'm going to the grocery store. I love going to the grocery store. I love getting the things that I need. I love getting the perfect parking spot. I really enjoy the drive getting to the grocery store. I love it when my cart has all four wheels working. I love it when there's nobody that's aggressive or mean on my way to that sort of thing. Preceding the field with my own intentions of what I want to see during the day. And then when I'm driving to the grocery store, to work, to things like that, I'm not going to experience the knee-jerk reactions. I'm just not going to experience somebody who's mean, because I just made the intentions for the universe. I want to experience this and this and this. And it's a direct parallel to any of the work that you do at your center. You know, it's what you're bringing in, because you are the one that's getting the healing done.
I've always said it is the X factor in healing is your intent and your purpose in it, and where you are basically. Because if you don't have that purpose, that intention within it, we could do everything to get you healed, but you will be back in a disease cycle because that is what you have in your mind already. So of course the numbers could come back great, biochemical labs could show you're feeling better already because we're doing so much to kind of, get you there. But if you don't have that intention, if you can't put in that purpose and put in that time to say these things to yourself, I am healed, I'm wonderful, I'm, perfect where I need to be, even though it seems like doom and gloom. I have to say there is so much to watching the news that creates panic, fear, and I feel like where we are right now in 2020 is the penultimate kind of doom and gloom
It is.
situation if you're involved in it. For me, I had to cut out the news. I had to cut out any notifications on my phone. I just did it because I know I'm in a better state without that. Even if it's subconsciously hitting me that, oh my God, another case or another this or another that. It seems like doom and gloom, but if you go outside and you go into nature, it's still beautiful. It's still in perfection. There's nothing wrong really, when you go step back. And I feel like that is a state of healing already. That is healing. The other side is a state of dysfunction in a sense, and the body will pick up on that sooner or later. And I love because we're talking about all this maybe in an esoteric kind of fields, but it's really not, because this is what you're doing with the technology. You're creating a sense of harmony within the body so that you don't have this state of doom or gloom, that you come off of the bed feeling more positive, feeling at peace, rested, almost regenerated, and feeling like you could handle things better, right?
Yeah, and I've also shared with my clients, I'm like, listen, don't go into a Walmart right afterwards, because it's going to bring you right back down. Be conscious of what you're doing for the next few days, because your body is in a state of shifting right now. And you're going to want to give it that peace of mind. You owe it to yourself to do things maybe a little bit differently for the next few days at least, and see where it works. See what works, see what doesn't work. Nothing is concrete and correct for everyone. You've got to tune into yourself, find out what's working for you, what's not. It's okay to get rid of things. It's okay to introduce new things. Um, we are regularly shifting ourselves around and finding out what works and what doesn't. And that's part of being human. It's such a glorious experience to know that um, we have so many different options available to us, and really choosing the best one at any given time. I feel like there's no right or wrong in what we're doing. It's all an experience that we're having.
Embracing change is also so important, as you mentioned, because even I did a podcast with a HRV specialist, heart rate variability, and he was talking that it's not the strongest species that survives in evolution. It's not the quickest or anything. It's the one that adapts the best. So adaptation to things is incredible, and I love that feeling of, and that message of, after a treatment, especially in healing, don't do the things that you normally do that put you in a stress state that probably got you to a disease state. I even heard that after you get therapies like ultraviolet blood irradiation therapy, one expert said, go outside and get the UV rays now on your skin from the sun, even on a cloudy day, just a few minutes. That can actually potentiate what you just had done, replicated
Yes,
in the therapy.
it's
So,
frequency. Yeah.
yeah.
The body's like, oh, I remember this. I remember this
Right.
frequency.
Yeah. So much of what goes on during healing, I feel like, is change and embracing that. Because anyone I know that's been through a healing process says, in the end, you will be a changed person. And that's part of the healing. If you don't change, you haven't healed, or you're
Right.
still on your
Right.
journey. And so many people have that raise in conscious, I would say, and see things very differently when they're healed. And that's the wonderful part of healing. It brings you back to a higher state. And that's the wonderful thing I think about what you've created in the quantum resonance crystal bed. It is bringing you to a higher state also through just very simple, you could say, but at the same time, advanced technology goes into this dealings with energy, vibration, all these things, sound. So it's really remarkable what you've done
Yeah.
here.
Thank you so much. It draws upon some of the more esoteric parts of the system which we haven't touched upon, like the scalar energy
Hmm.
or what people call 0 point. For me, the scalar energy, and this is a real scientific um, piece to it, is that scalar energy is the way I think of it is energy that's waiting for thought to come from us to help bring it where it needs to be. It is scalar energy is like wearing noise canceling headphones, where you have a noise canceling headphone, you've created a sound, but then you just canceled it out by giving the equal and opposite waveform.
Mm.
Where did it go? You created it and you canceled it, but the energy is still there. It's just in a field that's waiting for the pure potential of thought to come through and allow it to help manifest that thought. Um, so we develop scalar energy through those magnetic coils that are in the crystal holders. Now, the magnetic field from these coils, there's also stationary magnets that are around this coil. And what's really interesting is that this is a miniature MRI device. It's a magnetic resonance where um, the stationary coil, the stationary magnets are actually creating a stronger field as this is going around it. And it doesn't mean that it's able to scan your body or anything like that. It's just a clear example of the technologies that are so similar to one another. This is creating that scalar energy. So where we're sending that pulsed electromagnetic field, the PEMF, into it, it's then canceling itself and going into the crystal. The crystal's magnifying that energy through the frequency of the PEMF. And then it's going into your field. It's a much stronger way for the energy to get into your body. What was found is that the scalar energy goes right through clothing, goes right through anything physical. It goes right through steel, concrete. It just goes right through it because it's not a part of the three-dimensional energy system. There's no carrier to it. Um, if it's going right through everything, then how is it working? Well, because of the intention, the cells are listening and waiting for that magnetic information. And then they're picking it up as they're going through their daily magnetic cycle. Um, the, the cells only need a very, very, very small voltage in the millivolts in order to affect a change. And when we can give the cells the voltage and adjust the magnetic frequency, which is magnetic frequency is 90 degrees from the voltage, basically, if we're looking at it scientifically. The magnetic is attaching itself to the cell, and that's adding to the information that the DNA is using. So it's a frequency that is very gentle for the body. It's not like a TENS unit that has the patches that is giving direct energy to the system. Um, I went to a seminar where a doctor has created this laser, and basically what he did is he took one laser and he split the beam into two, and he then directed the second beam back upon its the first beam. And so these two beams are coming and striking. They had to do a lot of scientific whatever to get it so they phased and everything. But when they struck, that energy, that light disappears there, and it creates the scalar energy through that laser beam. And they have it patented, and they create supplements now with it that are extremely effective. Um, he has, I can't even go into it, but in other countries, the aspirin that they've created it works within a minute. It's amazing because of that scalar energy that it's been subject to. It talks to the cells faster.
Yeah, these topics are really fascinating, whether it's scalar energy, tachyon energy, you could go into the quantum physics of that all, and voltage, of course. And I know you brought up a couple books because I want to give people the ability to learn more about this and not just say,
Hmm.
wow, this
Yeah.
is something, sounds fascinating, but how do I
Hmm.
learn more?
Yeah,
What are
yeah, yeah,
some of
yeah.
the books that you recommend to read to learn more on these subjects?
One of the first books that I picked up and read in my teens was Robert Becker. He has Cross Currents, and he has another one, Body Electric, I think it was. Amazing, amazing works where he goes into the body's electromagnetic fields. He goes into um, how the stem cells regrow, how the salamanders can regrow their body parts, regrow half a head, all sorts of amazing things. Goes on to discuss the electromagnetic fields around the earth, and how sensitive we are to things like that. One of the other books I absolutely love is Healing is Voltage, Jerry Tennant's book. And Jerry Tennant's a doctor in Texas. He got encephalitis from doing eye surgeries for people, doing macular degeneration surgeries. And all his colleagues were like, "We can't heal you. You're done." Um, Bedridden. He had to figure out how to heal himself, and he did that through learning about the voltage in the body, learning about the Far Eastern traditions of the chakra systems, of subtle energy bodies, things like that, and healthy, amazing being now. And he's come out with his own protocols and devices and things like that. But his book is so great because it goes into so many details that we just don't get with normal um, everyday science.
Yeah, it's a book we recommend for patients as well to understand what happens here and what really happens in the body. Because as we know, and we brought this up, we are much more than just physical beings, and there's such an importance to that unseen side of things that no one really talks about, which is voltage, energy, frequency, and everything else. Now, I want to go back a little bit because I know a lot of patients have heard of John of God's bed that you brought up earlier and have asked, how is this different? Because it is quite similar. You experienced the Johnny Other God bed. I think that gave you inspiration to come up with something there that's unique. So could you go just a little bit into those differences?
Absolutely. I'm going to lean over a quick second.
Sure.
Ah. So the John of God bed uses the crystals, and it uses light suspended over the crystal where it's sending the light frequency into the body. Um, that's where it ends. Uh, our system does do that through the holder here, which has light inside of it. But these small little chips are actual various types of rocks and stones and minerals. We also have essential oils inside of this. And this holder, because we're using essential oils, because we're using minerals, each one of these minerals, each one of these essential oils has its own frequencies, which is adding in a way that nature can do better than I can, those frequencies into the crystals. The crystals are nothing more than transmitters.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, if we look at watches before they went all digital, is that the old analog watches had crystal
Crystal
movement to
quartz.
them.
Mm-hmm.
Crystal quartz, basically what they're doing is taking a very small chunk of crystal, sending an electrical charge through it, and the crystal will build it up, build it up, build it up, and then it hits a potential and releases the energy. And so that becomes time, a unit of time. And because it can do that consistently, it has quartz movement to it. Quartz is a resistive conductor in that regards, where it's resistive, where it doesn't want to let the electricity go through it, but it will after a certain amount of potential is given to it. The same can be said about all the other energy that's going into this, whether it's light, whether it's magnetism. Those energies are building up inside of it and working their way down. We use the light, like the John of God, but we're also adding, the rocks and the oils and the electromagnetic field inside of it, which we think is absolutely huge. We also have, at least on these newer units, the full spectrum lighting, which is pointing down at the client, and that is giving you the ultraviolet and the ultraviolet and the infrared light.
Mm-hmm.
We feel that is so important for the body to get. Um, and that's for the top portion of our system. The bottom portion is the vibration,
Yeah, tell
where,
me a little bit more about that, because that feels wonderful, but there's much more to it than just
yeah,
a relaxing massage shiatsu type thing going on.
we use transducers on the massage table, and transducers are basically speakers that don't have a cone to it. So once you attach that transducer to something, an object, whether it's a body or a wood, it then becomes the object to transmit the vibrations, the frequencies. And so we attach them onto the bottom of the massage table that the client is laying on. And guess what? The client who's laying on that massage table starts to feel those vibrations, starts to feel those frequencies. What we've done is very carefully design specific vibrations for the client to get consistently. And through frequencies like 55.5 hertz or 72.2, 111, things that frequencies that we've intuited through meditation and practice and kinesiology around what would be effective for a body. We tried not to go too high. We do get pretty low with some of the frequencies, but those are the ones that you're going to hear primarily through the headphones, which is another part of the sound element. So as you're lying on this table, you're getting all these vibrations. You're also having your headphones on, which is creating the binaural beats, which is giving specific gamma waves to the brain. And the gamma waves are great because those are developed between something around 20 and 55 hertz, I believe it is. It might be higher. But the gamma waves are ones that are brain waves that are developed during, um, such as rock climbing, when you get that perfect zone, or you're doing a sport and you're in the zone. That is the gamma wave, when you're highly focused and your body and your brain is receptive to taking on new ideas. So we're giving the brain the gamma waves. We're giving a host of different brain waves, theta, delta, beta, alpha. We're running through all of them because the brain works with all of them. It doesn't mean that one's going to be more receptive than another. It means that if we can touch upon each state of being, then the brain is activating those neurons for that state. And it's saying, okay, we're online. Okay, let's do this. And so it's touching upon everything, and the binaural beats are also giving a mental workout. It's like playing chess in your mind, and it tires out the brain, and it stops the monkey mind. It stops us thinking. And many people experience a lot of relaxation. They may go to sleep. That's perfect. I love it when someone goes to sleep on one of the systems, because then they're not involved in the process to say yes or no to it. It's just happening because they gave their intention to it before they got on the system. Yes, I would love to have a great healing on this. And so when they go to sleep, that's happening. So the vibration is so very important. All the cells are resonating at the same frequency. It's a beautiful process, and I know so many people really work with sound in healing processes. So we also put in the Tibetan singing bowls. We put in the solfeggio tones. We put in nice, easy ambient music as well in some of the later pieces that we've done.
Yeah, I've always said that, in a therapy, you can't have too much, but you absolutely need some kind of synergy going on. That's why for us at our center, so many of these singular therapies are performed usually at the same time. But what you've done here is you've created a kind of, again, a symphony of these different technologies and different understandings and different pieces and sections that really help together. So I have to say, it's not that it's too much, it's not that it's too little. It is the orchestra that is playing together and being very synergistic with the body. So, I mean, I've experienced it. And like you said earlier, it does make you feel good. It does make you, go through the process, and experiencing it is something of you feel a little bit healed afterwards and definitely better. So, that is always my number one I look for is experience. The evidence could be great, it could show something, but until you experience it yourself and go in with the right intention,
Yeah.
that's the key to any therapy out there. So I think you've done a really good job with that. Are you looking to do anything new or anything different add on, or are you happy where it is? Is there going to be some dynamic additions to it?
You know, I'm happy where it is.
Okay.
However, I'm never done with it. I am always creating and inventing and developing new systems. The next big shift is coming with a unit that will suspend from the ceiling and have automated motor controls to lower and raise it. But the keystone there will be having um, uh, specific lasers over each of the chakras that go into the crystals, and each one of them is going to be individually programmable. So we can really fine tune the system, as well as add other frequencies if we so desire. But I'm also playing around with the idea of having multiple colored lasers. But I feel, the thing about a laser, and the reason why it's so effective, is because it can fine tune the frequency so well, much the way um, like Bach flower essences are, where I can't remember the exact what I'm thinking of right now, but it's distillation, 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 bringing something down to such a fine um, unit of measurement, where we're just talking about one frequency, not a wide spread of frequency. Where we can get that one frequency, it really focuses the energy, and the body really reacts to that sort of information really quickly. Um, we have done in the past work with the lasers, and they've been really effective. Uh, but yeah, that's where we're looking to go, is to get more um, synergistic response with the body.
Right. And lasers are an amazing thing. Not only are they cool, I mean, when you look at them and
Yeah.
everything, they do provide you with, like you said, this information that is very specific. And the way I know I've heard it before is that a lot of therapies out there, or anything out there, is sometimes it's a lot of information going into the body. It's like many people talking to you at once and giving you information that sometimes, if your body is in a prime state, it may be able to handle these multiple pieces of information, right? It's like three calls come in, you're kind of juggling and you're answering it. But if you're overwhelmed, no way you're getting that information to actually do something with it. But here you have just one piece of information that is very strong, very, specific, and the body can do something with that. And that is regenerate this. That is the piece of information. Or, slow down the enzymatic function of this. Or, let's balance something here. And so that is really interesting, that you're going to have these fine pieces going in of information that can, I believe, be very useful and processed easier by the body.
Sure.
So it's really interesting, and I hope that comes to fruition. I know you're probably like a mad scientist trying to make this work, but
Yeah, it's fun. We in my workshop downstairs, we have a lot of prototyping going on with 3D printing and fabricating with metal and things like that. But through all of it, it just boils down to I'm having fun with this and I'm trusting my intuition on what wants to be evolved next. If I feel a roadblock, I have to put it aside and do something else. I can't rush something. Uh, it has to be aligned with the energy that's wanting to come forward with it.
I think any great creator or inventor would say the same thing. There has to be that inspiration. There has to be some sort of connection also. All aha moments don't come out of nowhere. They are coming from somewhere, but you have to be connected to have those moments.
Yeah. I wanted to go back real quick and just really honor the people who are using the systems, the doctors like yourself and the Reiki practitioners and everyone else, because they're such an important part of a person's healing potential. When you come into a space and you feel like they know what they're doing, you feel safe, secure, and um, the doctor client, the patient client, all this relationship is taking place. I feel like that is such a big step in the right direction as well, where it's not you're a number, get you in and out. So I feel like the work that you guys are doing there is so remarkable as well.
Thank you so much for that. And I completely agree with you that, we want to humanize medicine in a sense. It is an art form, it always has been. It's not a technicality where we've gone with it, where we become basically, we are machines. We look at you as one piece. All right, it's your GI system. You go to a gastroenterologist. If it's your neurological neurologist, then that's it. And we break you apart like we would a car. No way. That's not what humans are. We are not cars. We are not machines. We are spiritual beings, energetic beings, and we have to honor that. And healing is about honoring who you are as a person and connecting with you. So much of that, and that's why we love, working with people such as yourself and the devices and all the different therapies that allow us to do that, allow us to catalyze that connection and provide something to the patient that they may be missing, that is natural, that is healing, that gets them to a state of harmony easier. So, right back at you. Thank you for creating this and allowing us to do what we do and do it even better and continue to do that and continue to connect with patients, try and understand them, build those relationships, because that's where healing will really happen. Otherwise, we're going to be in a spot where we are machines and we don't really care too much about machines. They're disposable sometimes. There's junkyards for machines. There shouldn't be junkyards for humans. Come on.
And we're taking away the right to repair machines. We're taking away the right to repair our own bodies.
Yeah.
That dehumanization going on.
Yeah, there's a great amount of empowerment when you realize you're the one healing. We always say we don't do any healing here. You're doing it. We're just guiding you in that, right? We are your guides almost in a sense, your coach, you could say, but you're doing the work. That's it. If we give you something, it's just so your body is doing it and getting you back to healing.
Right.
And that's exactly what the quantum resonance crystal bed is helping to do, get you back into a self-healing state. So awesome work. And where can people learn more about you and the work you're doing?
Quantumresonance.org is our main website, and that's where we do most everything. My wife and I, we love having conversations with people, and we're more than willing to talk with potential customers. And um, it is we're located in Northern California in Mount Shasta area, and
Beautiful place. I actually climbed Mount Shasta when I was younger, and
oh wow,
to this day, my favorite mountain of all. I've been to Everest. I've been to so many great mountains, but Shasta sticks out as just, I don't know, something else there. The energy there is
the energy there is great.
otherworldly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we get our drinking water from the headwaters here,
Mm.
and it's just a magical place. So we feel so incredibly blessed, and we love what we're doing, and we love uh, bringing these systems out to the world. And
Yeah, I'd love to see it in more offices because I know we always get, wow, this looks so cool, but people don't understand it sometimes. So I'm hoping when they hear you and they hear this podcast, they understand a little bit better and then take action because they have that understanding. Because this is so valuable. We know that. And I hope other doctors do it. So, Shin, thank you so much for coming on, sharing your knowledge, and creating this wonderful piece of healing device for the world to use.
thank you so much. It's been such an amazing experience to share this with you today. And we know that this is going to be one of the best podcasts out there. And we love what we do. And we're just
At
thrilled.
the end of the day, that's all that matters. We got to love what we do, live it with passion, live life fully and give back. That's the
Yes.
message I want to leave this on. So, thank you
Amazing.
again.
Thank you.